What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And now look, I got an update video for you guys right off the jump. The whole Virginia thing that's been going on with the voter registrations, where Virginia came in and they saw a bunch of people ticked a box when they went to the DMV, got a driver's license. They ticked a box that said they're non-citizens. So what does Virginia do? Oh, they notice this and they're like, well, hang on, these people are on the voter rolls. So they go and take all these people that ticked that box that says they're non-citizens. They took them off the voter rolls. And then guess what the DOJ does? Of course, anybody that follows this channel religiously knows that, yes, the DOJ sued Virginia to put them back onto the voter rolls. And guess what? The Fifth Circuit agreed with the DOJ. How absurd is this? That was one of the most absurd cases I think I've ever come across, y'all. Like, seriously, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, you're putting these people, non-citizens, back onto the voter rolls because of some garbage 90-day rule that says you can't remove people from the voter rolls. You can't have a purging process, a list maintenance, as they call it, to your voter rolls within a certain 90-day period of an election. Now, hang on. Glenn Youngkin comes out and says, well, this was individualized. This was only people that ticked this box. The appeals court said, don't know, don't care. Put them back on the voter rolls, which was outright insane. And we covered all these articles. We covered the stories. We covered the news clips. We covered the video clips of Glenn Youngkin coming out and actually explaining what was going on here. It was an individualized process. It wasn't list maintenance. But do these people care? No. Why would they do this? It got make you think, right? It's getting me tongue-tied. It's so absurd. On its face, it's getting me tongue-tied here. Now, why would they do this? What sense, in what world, does it make any sense to put ineligible voters back onto the voter rolls? Are you trying to get these people deported? Are you trying to make these people commit a federal felony? For crying out loud, like, what is really going on here? Why do they need to be on the voter rolls? Why would you spend taxpayer dollars, right, in two ways here? Because it's the DOJ suing Virginia, and now Virginia has to use taxpayer dollars to defend themselves in court. What sense does that make? And this is government waste at its finest, y'all. At its finest. They're taking your tax dollars and just blowing it on nothing. I know it's not a whole hell of a lot, given how much money we take in revenue. We're talking trillions of dollars here, and court cases maybe in the thousands, maybe tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, depending on the litigation, how long it takes, blah, 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 whatever. All the staff and everything involved. But, what sense does it make to do this? It makes no sense whatsoever. But Virginia is not having any of this, y'all. Check this out. Once again, update to the story. Virginia asks Supreme Court to halt order forcing state to keep non-citizens on voter rolls. That is right. So they're pushing back, spending more taxpayer dollars, but it's for a good cause, in my opinion. But before we do that, before we get into that story, I need you guys to do me a big, large, giant, huge favor. Sorry for throwing that many words in there on top of that, but if y'all could smash the like button for me, I really, really do appreciate the help. Smash that subscribe button. I've been getting an influx of subscribers, so I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all you guys that leave comments, interact with me down in the comments section. I love talking to you guys. So y'all make sure and smash that like button for me. It really, really helps out the channel. And y'all subscribe if you're not already subscribed. All I do is give out information, folks. Of course, I give out my biased opinion as well, but at least I'm going to tell you, look, I've got a conservative bias from right off the top. I have a bias, so take that for what it's worth, but at least I'm going to give you the facts and I'm going to give you all the context as we know it. I'm not going to leave out context like MSNBC and CNN and CBS and ABC and NBC and all these people. They just love to leave out certain context. I go through these news articles and I read the entire news article out, so at least you get all of the information, right? If you don't like my opinion, you don't like my views, so be it, but at least to stay informed. At least you get the information that you deserve. Check this out, y'all. Virginia Attorney General Jason Maris requested the Supreme Court for an emergency stay on the Fourth Circuit's decision to uphold a lower court's ruling stopping the state from removing non-citizens from voter rolls, which is insane. The lower court also told Virginia to reinstate everyone that the state removed. Yes, that is right. Force them to put non-citizens back onto the voter rolls. Red State covered the Fourth Circuit decision, and there's a link right there. Which, don't click on it because it's not an actual link. If you guys want that link, ask me down in the comments. I know exactly where it's at. Now, I might just throw it in there just so you guys can have it, so you can go and look at that if you would like. The injunction, which prohibits the application of a law that has been on the books since the Justice Department pre-cleared it in 2006, will also irreparably injure Virginia's sovereignty, confuse her voters, overload her election machinery and administrators, and likely lead non-citizens to think they are permitted to vote, a criminal offense that will cancel the franchise of eligible voters, claimed Miaris. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm almost certain I'm not. Miaris? I guess. Y'all let me know down in the comments if I'm pronouncing that wrongly. I sure would love to know. But yeah, now some of Virginia's argument right there, I'm not sure if I buy into that or not. I'm not sure if it will irreparably injure Virginia's sovereignty, for crying out loud. Like, I don't understand what a few thousand criminal aliens voting in an election could do to their sovereignty, for goodness sakes. I don't get that one for sure. I really don't understand. I could see how it would confuse voters. Understand that. Overload the election machinery and administrators. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either there, Virginia. And will likely lead non-citizens to think they are permitted to vote. Now, that one, that's your main concern right there, because once again, as an end result, if you happen to be a non-citizen living in this country that likes to be in tune to politics, and you just so happen to be following this specific story, what would you think? Right? Like, and if you didn't hear anybody say anything about it's a crime for non-citizens to vote in elections, you just come across a story that says they're putting non-citizens back on the voter rolls. Wouldn't that make you think that, well, hang on, if they're putting us on the voter rolls, they're doing this for a reason. By God, they're taking Virginia to court to do it. Huh. Does that mean I get to go vote? I mean, seriously, that would be a logical conclusion to that information, right? You would think that. This is why it's so just mind-blowing. Like, just outright insane for the federal government to force a state to put non-citizens back onto the voter rolls after being taken off because they were non-citizens, because they ticked a box. And the excuse is lovely. Oh, they may have checked the wrong box. You gotta love that. Oh, it may be an accident. There's no evidence to say they did or didn't. Like, there's no facts for the DOJ to come in and say this, that it's just a possibility they could have. Like, really, where's your fact-based analysis here? Because some people, every once in a while, will tick the wrong box by accident. Now you think that all of these people, oh, it's just a possibility. Like, come on. It just makes absolutely no sense, especially when Virginia comes behind this, sends these people notification that they've been taken off the voter rolls, and gives them the chance to clarify that if they did tick the wrong box, come by, the election official's office in whatever county or parish. We got parishes here in Louisiana, so if you ever hear me say parish, to you, that's a county. I don't know why we're the only state that calls them parishes, but it's a French thing, and I'm not French by no means, but, it is what it is, and I'm rambling about that, but, it just, it gives these people the opportunity to go and fix this issue in case it was an accident. But that's not good enough for the DOJ. Not good enough at all, and is insane. Miyares also said the injunction violates Purcell v. Gonzalez, and then they got the case number right there if you want to go look that up. Purcell centered around Arizona's Proposition 200, which required people to register to vote with a photo ID. The district court denied a restraining order requested by those who sued the states. The plaintiffs appealed to the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit for an injunction which the court granted. SCOTUS decided 9-0 that the Ninth Circuit erred in granting an injunction against the enforcement of Proposition 200. SCOTUS ruled that an appellate court cannot overturn a district court decision without factual findings or any other reasoning. Although at the time the Court of Appeals issued its order, the district court had not yet made factual findings to which the Court of Appeals owed deference. See Federal Civic blah 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 blah. You get it. By failing to provide any factual findings or indeed any reasoning of its own, the Court of Appeals left the court in the position of evaluating the Court of Appeals' bare order in light of the district court's ultimate findings. There has been no explanation given by the Court of Appeals showing the ruling and findings of the district court to be incorrect. In view of the impending election, the necessity for clear guidance to the state of Arizona, and our conclusion regarding the Court of Appeals' issuance of the order, we vacate the order of the Court of Appeals. So basically what that mumbo jumbo sounded like to me is that they're using that case as a reference to say that the Supreme Court overturned this decision when the Court of Appeals made a decision based on a case that they didn't have any factual evidence to make their decision based upon. So now they're using that as a reference to say in this instance the Court of Appeals also made a decision based upon the DOJ not having any factual evidence of these people that were taken off the voter rolls, these non-citizens, ticking the wrong box. So they don't have any factual evidence of them actually doing this. So what they're saying is basically you can't make a ruling like this if you don't have any facts on your side. They're just making a ruling up out of thin air. And the Supreme Court is going to strike this down. And there's your precedent right there. That's what I grabbed from that. I know that was kind of hard to understand. I actually had to pause the video and go read that entire paragraph again to kind of understand that. So that's why I had to stop and break that down for a second, because I didn't get it. You know, because a lot of times when I'm reading these articles, as I'm reading, I'm thinking about what I'm going to respond in the back of my head as I'm reading. Now, I found that, you know, I didn't know I had the ability to do that, to be honest with you, which is crazy to think about. You're actually reading something out loud, understanding what's being read, and then also, at the same time, thinking about how to respond to that in the back of your brain. That's kind of crazy to think about. And I imagine a lot of people have that ability and just don't know it until they actually start reading stuff a lot and thinking about how they're going to respond to this out in the open. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry to rant about myself. I apologize for that. I'm usually a humble person. I'm not trying to brag. That's why I kind of said I bet anybody could do that. I just didn't know that was a thing. Didn't know that was a possibility. Because, you know, one-track mind over here. That's what I generally am. I'm generally an idiot. I'm not all that smart. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I'm not all that smart. I like logic a whole lot. And when things don't make logical sense, I have a problem with that. I have a genuine problem with that. And this don't make logical sense. If you're going to make a finding based upon no facts, just it's possible they could have ticked the wrong freaking box. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not anything good to be doing. For the court should be making decisions, for crying out loud. I know I didn't find the words I needed to say right there. But the court really shouldn't make decisions based upon possibilities. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, what? They may have ticked the wrong box? Where's the logic in all this? Miyares told SCOTUS that the Fourth Circuit refused to apply Purcell, thus violating this court's precedent. Miyares pointed out a mixed message made by the Fourth Circuit. The court held that the NVRA's National Voter Registration Act of 1993 quiet period provision applies to non-citizens because the NVRA contains no explicit exception for them, and that Virginia's program was systematic. Apply, blah, 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 yeah. That's junk. At the same time, the district court held that non-citizens could be removed under the general removal provision, despite that provision not containing an explicit exception for non-citizens either. Yeah, because they don't expect non-citizens to be on the voter rolls when they make up laws like this. It's only recently that we've been registering non-citizens to vote. Right? Like, you don't think about stuff like that when you're writing up laws. Why? Because those laws only pertain to citizens of this country. Because they expect that non-citizens to be booted from the country unless you have legal protected status, of course. Which we didn't have a whole lot of that, so why even put that into the letter of the law? These people shouldn't get registered to vote in the first place. So why make up laws about it? About, obscure stuff like this. That's what I don't get. But, I mean, there's your logical reasoning behind that. Balancing the equities, the district court relied on hearsay and a smattering of anecdotal evidence to conclude that Virginia's program would cause irreparable harm and was against the public interest because that evidence showed only that the self-identified non-citizens it ordered Virginia to add to its voting rolls failed to return a form and attest that they were citizens. Once again, that's what I was talking about earlier. Virginia notified everybody they took off the voter rolls, which is a service that I wouldn't think that they would do. Why tell a non-citizen you took them off the voter rolls? Oh, wait, hang on. So, in case they ticked the wrong box. So, that pretty much nullifies the DOJ's argument here. It outright nullifies it, but they went forward with the case anyway, and it just blew my freaking mind that the appellate court sided with the DOJ. Like, this is something else we talked about with venue shopping. Now, this wasn't venue shopping, but this is something I got into a discussion with a commenter the other day with, where I think personally, and I don't really discuss this a whole hell of a lot, I think it's manipulation of the system. Which it looks like it is, because what you do, you have a court case that you want to go in your direction. So what do? Okay, now, let me back up a little bit. So we know that the president appoints federal judges, and when it's a federal case specifically, they appoint federal judges, right? So every 4 years, you're always getting judges appointed. And certain districts have a lot more Republican judges. Certain districts have a lot more Democrat judges. That's just how it is, right? So if you're a Republican and you have a Republican-leaning case or whatever it may be, and you want to win that case, what you go do is you go find a federal district that's mostly Republican, and you go file your suit there so you'll know you'll win. That's what they do. They do this all the damn time. I mean, even in criminal cases, they do this. They want to change a venue. Now, in that change of venue for criminal cases, that's kind of totally different, to be honest with you, because now what you're doing is you're taking the criminal case out of that area because you want an unbiased jury pool. And if it's a criminal case that got news circulation, like people know about it, it's hard to get an unbiased jury tapped from that population. So you change the venue. That, I don't see that as manipulation. That's a good thing. But this, I do see that as a manipulation because you're specifically going to a certain district where you know you have an advantage to win. But they do this all the time, and it's manipulative, right? The right and the left does this. And I think neither one of them should do it. You take the case wherever the case may be. If you just so happen to be in a district, like wherever, whatever it is, But sometimes there kind of is no district on stuff like this, right? Like, it's just a case that you want to bring to federal court. So this is why I don't really rail about it all that much. Because, yeah, both sides do it in equal amounts. It's kind of like gerrymandering. Both sides do it to benefit themselves. So that's why I don't talk about gerrymandering all that much, because they both do it. I think neither one of them should really do it, like in blatant benefit to their own party, in other words. But when you do have to reassign these districts, you know, of course you're going to try to benefit yourself, but, you know, personally, I think they should just, all the congressional districts, you just square everything off as square and evenly as you can. Right? That's how I think it should work. You shouldn't have a district that's mostly square and then right here it comes way up for a little tiny sliver. And, you know, that's ridiculous. But they do that crap all the time. And I don't think they should. I understand why they do, though. But once again, venue shopping, it's kind of manipulative. But if they both do it in equal amounts to benefit themselves, it's hard to argue with that. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't know. But I just wanted to get that out there because me and somebody discussed that. So I figured I'd kind of try to flush that out in person, if you will. So there you go. There's that. It seems like Mayaris has a point. If both don't have an explicit exception for non-citizens, shouldn't you apply both provisions? I totally agree with that. I totally agree. It's just ridiculous, to be honest with you. And I know this is going to come off very biased, but I read a lot of news, and all this lawfare coming from the left is just blowing my freaking mind, right? Like, I'll be honest with you guys, it might be only blowing my mind because I didn't start reading the news until I started doing YouTube. Like, I kind of paid attention to politics, but not really all that much. Not nearly as much as I do now. It's exponentially higher what I do now because, you know, like I say all the time, y'all, I read a lot of news stories and to figure out what I'm going to cover for the day. And I'll read 10 to 15 news articles a day sometimes to get news. You know, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll see a news article, read it, and be like, ooh, I'm going to cover this one. And the very next article I see, I'm going to cover that one too. That does happen. But generally speaking, I read at least 5 or 6, sometimes 10 to 15 news articles per day to get my content for this channel. So I read a lot of news, so I see a lot of these lawsuits. And once again, when I started seeing, it's always Democrats bringing these lawsuits. Like the amount of lawsuits Democrats brought against not only Republicans, but independents and Democrats to keep them off the ballot or disqualify them from running for president blew my freaking mind outright. I was like, why would the Democrat Party, right? And it's the DNC doing this. It's not politicians, it's the DNC. They take donor money, right? They're completely donor funded. So they're taking funding from donors and using that to make less democracy. That is, to me, now I could be, like I said, I could be biased here, but that to me is very telling of the Democratic Party. Very telling of the Democratic Party to me, when they're actually suing their own people to keep them off the ballot for, in some cases, just really ridiculous reasons. Like, well, he doesn't live here 6 months out of the year, so he can't run in this state. Like, what? That he still has a residence there, and he might live there 4 months out of the year. I mean, he's still a resident. Like, why does that even matter? But it's just, some of it's just ridiculous. Like, and it's so much of it. Just, once again, like I said, y'all, it blew my freaking mind. And that could be very normal as well. Like with the venue shopping, that they just love suing people left and right for no apparent reason. Just you would figure they wouldn't want to do that. They wouldn't want to waste campaign dollars, or, you know, something you could use toward campaigns for this. Like, really? But once again, y'all, that just, stuff like that just blows my mind. And, you know, maybe 10 years from now, I'll just see it and be like, whatever, it's whatever. But, you know, I'm rambling at this point. So, y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.